Welcome back to King's Comics for another fun and educational episode of Kapow. I'm Sonia.
And I'm Al, and incidentally, do you think educational is going to be the biggest draw card here?
Yeah, we try to keep the reviews really informative, give out lots of helpful knowledge.
Well, yeah, but I mean educational. It makes it sound like there's going to be a pop quiz at the end or something.
Maybe there will be.
Oh, well, that ought to have the subscriptions rolling in. Well, on the more fun than educational side, we have reviews of Hawkeye Little Hits and issue 1 of the new Vertigo miniseries, Trillium.
Ray will be along to take a look at a Walking Dead statue that is so cool, I might temporarily forget my fear of zombies.
And we might get Ray to stick around so that we can all talk about what we thought of the new DC animated feature, Flashpoint Paradox.
Lots of stuff to get through, so I hope you all have a notepad and a calculator handy.
What are they going to use a calculator for?
Well, if you type in 58008 and turn it upside down, it says boobs. Does. In recent times, we've seen Jeff Lemire working on a number of mainstream titles such as Green Arrow, Justice League Dark, and Frankenstein Agent of Shade, which is all very well and good. He's injected his signature style into these stories, and they're generally a pretty good read. But what I really like is where Mr. Lemire goes way, way out west with his original stories.
Which brings us to the new Vertigo titled Trillium, written and arted by Jeff Lemire.
Arted.
Yeah, I'm trying it out as a new word, arted.
Yeah, okay, maybe we'll just stick with words that are words.
Yeah, from the woman that brought us Kapow. Fine. Written and drawn by Jeff Lemire, Trillium is sci-fi pulp with a twist. And that twist can at first seem to be just a gimmick until you see the complexity of how it's being used. Trillium is a flip book. 2 stories told from either end and meeting in the middle. One story featuring a scientist in the far-flung future, and the other an ex-soldier shortly after the First World War.
It does seem like a gimmick until you notice the way the stories are set up, both visually and thematically. The frame setup and the placement of splash pages exactly mirror each other, and even the character arcs of these two, William and Nika, show a common thread. Both of them on quests that will bring them together, somehow, across the years.
Yeah, and how their respective goals will match up. William with his search for the power of an Incan goddess, and Nika looking for a plant that will protect the last of humanity from an intelligent virus, is slowly coming together. But since it's only an 8-part series, you've got to imagine that the story's going to ramp up sharply in the following issues.
The scratchy, almost messy artwork that we associate with Lemire is very much in evidence, and again, it would be easy to miss the complexity. There's a great deal of background detail in this as well, and everything about this comic screams, read me a couple of times or you're gonna miss something. I think this is the beginning of a really promising miniseries. I'm personally ecstatic about it, and I'm giving it a buy.
Yeah, look, I mean, if for nothing else, it's great to see somebody experimenting with the medium a
Yeah.
bit, but I'm finding myself very engaged with this time-hopping romance story. I'm giving it a buy as well.
Awesome.
I mean, come on, it's got aliens and angry natives, it's got space buggies and World War I flashbacks. There's something for everyone.
Hi Ray.
Hello.
Now, I have to admit, I am weirdly excited about this week's collectible.
Oh, me too. Well, actually, I'm not weirdly excited. I'm quite excited about this collectible. We have here the Michonne resin statue by McFarlane Toys. This statue stands over 14 inches tall and depicts Michonne, a woman transformed by pain and loss, thrust into the role of a badass zombie warrior as she disposes of 2 of her would-be attackers. Each statue comes with a hand-signed certificate of authenticity by Todd McFarlane and is also hand-signed by the Walking Dead creator, Robert Kirkman.
That's really awesome.
It is.
It's great that this is the first character from the series to be immortalized in statue form.
I think so, yeah, definitely.
She's very fearless and quite lethal looking. She's got to be a fan favorite, right?
Ah, absolutely, yeah. She's that fearlessness you mentioned is depicted in this very dynamic sculpt. And look, I would say it's more of a diorama than a statue, though. You know how I like to invent a kind of a story to my pieces?
Yes.
I don't feel like I have to do that with this. I don't have to invent something before or after. It's already there before me in this, spectacular, pose. This moment perfectly captured in action. So yeah.
That's really cool. So what do you think of this particular piece, Ray?
Well, it's striking.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. It's just this explosion of a scene before me it's instantly attractive, and it instantly sets it apart from any other statue that you might have on your shelf, which is a big plus. And I'm very, very impressed with the level of detail that's gone into it as well. From the sinewy, lifeless skin of the zombies bleeding from various wounds and the creased jeans that they're wearing, through to the texture and detail in Michonne's jacket and hair, it's all superbly crafted.
Yeah, and the colours are great too, lots of earthy tones. There's a reality to the sculpt. I love this splash of blood that extends out of the neck.
Yeah, it adds a gory kind of realism to that moment, doesn't it? I wouldn't be shining a light directly on it though, because it can get quite reflective, and then it gets that real plasticky sort of look as well. That said, the heads and the faces of all three characters look great as well, whether it be Michonne's hatred or the distress of her foe.
Don't you mean 4?
Yes? Yes! Of course, because if you have a look closer at the base, you'll see that there's another zombie already decomposing in the earth underneath this lovely detail of these leaves here. But that's not all there is to this sculpt, is it, Sonia?
No, it is not, because the clever people over at McFarlane have added an extra little bonus. A rotating base. This means that you can simply turn the statue however and whenever you want.
I love this small element of customization. Look, McFarlane are really throwing down the gauntlet to the other big players, I reckon, with this extra detail. It's a very exciting time to be a statue collector, I think, or a figure collector for that matter, because they're really pushing the envelope, going the extra mile. These big companies are trying to outdo each other, and they're working very, very hard for our attention, which I think it's great.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Michonne looks like one of those characters that if I could actually handle The Walking Dead, I would really, really like.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see who they immortalize next in statue form.
Maybe Rick Grimes?
Or the governor, I guess.
Maybe?
Yeah. I think if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you really should have something like this on your shelf. I mean, the question would be, who would you choose?
Which character, yeah.
Crazy. Look, it's wonderful. It's giving me the creeps, and I can't look at it any longer, but it's definitely a buy from me.
Well, I'm glad that you can overcome your fear to recognize the fine detail and craftsmanship in something like this. It's fantastic. Look, I wouldn't give it anything less myself. This sculpt is beautifully balanced, and the scene depicted, it sits nicely between believable action and something slightly superhuman. And I love the twisted, gnarled bodies of these zombies as they're falling, because it reflects a level of the research gone into the physics of that moment, which I really like. It's a buy from me. You reckon we should try some kind of reenactment of this diorama?
No.
What?
No.
We could put it on Instagram.
No, my zombie quota
could...
is full. I can't do any
Come
more
on,
zombies. No.
Alan, I will be the zombies.
No.
Stay and play.
No.
Stay and play.
No.
Stay and play.
Hawkeye Little Hits is the second volume in writer Matt Fraction's reinvention of the Avengers' resident marksman. As one of the few non-superpowered Avengers, there's a real scope for examining the character's everyday life, and it makes for strangely engaging storytelling.
Yeah, it does. I mean, Clint Barton isn't a god or a super soldier or a billionaire inventor. He's just a regular dude who happens to be very, very good with a bow and arrow.
And all the more interesting because of his flaws, I think.
Absolutely. We see in this volume his inability to hold a relationship together, his instinct to run from his problems, but we also see that he really does try to do the right thing, and that's what keeps you in his corner.
But let's remember that this isn't just the story of Clint Barton, it's also the story of Kate Bishop, the other Hawkeye.
Well, it's mostly about Clint. Kate generally just shows up to yell at him for being a flake and then storms off. But despite that, there's a real strong sense of character here that Fraction gets across really effectively, assisted in no small part by the artwork.
Yeah, and there are a few different artists involved in this volume. David Aja's work has a minimalist look to it that reminds me of Darwin Cook's visual style. It works really well for the sort of Hawkeye's day off feel that this volume has. Steve Lieber and Jesse Ham jump in for a single issue in this volume, but they hold very much to the same visual style, I thought.
They do, but then we get to issue number 10, which features art by Francesco Francavilla, which I personally was very excited by. There's a complete change in style as a disturbing new character called the Clown is introduced. Francavilla's artwork is perfect for bringing in this dead-eyed hitman, and it adds spice to the whole volume. I think Hawkeye has definitely become a title to watch, and I'm giving this trade a buy.
Well, you wouldn't think that watching members of the Avengers trying to hook up a DVD-R or discussing a popular cop show would be much fun, but it actually really works. I mean, and don't worry, there is still action as well, but it's more grounded than we're used to seeing in a lot of Marvel titles, more rooted in reality, and that makes it both gritty and compelling. I'm giving it a buy as well. I think this is a fresh take on a classic character, and it's well worth a look.
Absolutely.
Okay guys, well, Justice League Flashpoint Paradox is the latest DC Warner animated feature. We couldn't wait, so we got our hands on a preview copy.
Yep.
Ray, thanks for sticking around
No
for
worries.
this.
Yeah, awesome.
What did we think of this film?
Well, look, it's overall very enjoyable. I thought it got off a little slow. Some parts early on, I wasn't sure how that really related to the larger story that unfolded and unfolded quite rapidly. It sort of starts at a crawl and then picks up pace and goes like a bat out of hell. But overall, it's an enjoyable, fun film. It's action packed.
It is. I think because we read Paradox, so we kind of had a bit of background. We knew what was going on. The slower start didn't bother me quite so much. I did find it really engaging when it really started kicking off though, and everything started going crazy.
Well, there is so much going on in this one, isn't there? There's so many characters. There's so much action, especially near that back end. It almost gets overwhelming, the amount of action.
I was overwhelmed. Well, just because I'm not familiar with all of those characters. The main characters, the Justice League characters, I'm familiar with those. But then outside of that, those individual enemies and those, villains and things like that, I was kind of, that's an awesome superpower. I want to know more about that person, that and that and that. But it was all just just thrown at me all at once. So I couldn't really have time to dig into that.
It's an interesting point because, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, fans are going to recognize, that dude in a mask and a trench coat in the background. They're going to know who he is.
Yeah.
Whereas people who have come into this cold, they just go, oh, this is an animated feature, this might be fun.
Yeah.
Are possibly going to feel a little bit at sea on this one. Yeah. Not to, no pun on the whole Aquaman whore thing, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels like maybe they're not going to be able to find an in, which makes it, a little bit odd. But for people who are fans, big DC readers, are going to lap it up.
I
think
so.
There's Grifter, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Look what they've done to Cold, look what they've done to Deathstroke.
Yes.
They're going to be just eating that up with a spoon.
Yeah. And I think all the character designs, even if you weren't sure of who that character was, most of them looked really good.
I think so too,
There were a few weird ones though.
There was a couple of odd
choices. Aquaman was weird.
In Flashpoint universe looks like Brock Lesnar.
He does.
He's got the bull neck, the tufty hair. I was a bit thrown by that because he doesn't. You see at the start, he doesn't look like that.
No,
it's
he doesn't.
Only in this other world, but he's gone. Out the sides.
I was thinking he's gone all Old Man Logan or something.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
But as you say, most of it, I mean, it does overall look really good. It's gone in a more kind of anime kind of direction.
Yeah, if you have a look at the credits, there's much more. There's not very many Anglo names in the credits. They've obviously outsourced and got more of an anime influence in, and it definitely shows style-wise, action-wise, choreographically, how it moves is quite incredible. There's a couple of particular one-on-one battles.
Quite
won't reveal who they are, but they're fantastic. So
it is. I also liked the environmental stuff that was going on as well, because
there's a lot of
especially again towards that back end of the film. There's a lot of crazy buildings and there's lots of tidal waves and earthquakes.
I really love that idea.
Minotaurs.
Yes, I love that idea when they don't have anything else to do and they can't use their superpower, so they use what's around them, and it just adds that extra bit of realism to that particular fight or the action.
And it went in a much more violent direction. I think. I mean, yes, we did see Dark Knight Returns, which had the same director. So obviously he's wetted his feet and getting a bit violent. This takes it a step further.
I think so. Yeah.
You've got emaciated Superman torching people. You've got severed limbs. You've got some brutal violence, particularly from Wonder Woman.
She
does
gets
some
a bit
nasty
dark.
Violence in here.
I kind of liked it though. I thought Wonder Woman as the character, she looked good. She sounded good, and she was hardcore.
I was on
That's
board.
my Wonder Woman.
So she should be though.
Yeah.
I think
she's getting around with a sword. Come on.
Awesome.
She's not just hitting people with the flat of it all the time.
Exactly. In fact, when she did use her bracelets, I was like, oh, really?
It
was like almost token ting ting. Now pick up your sword.
Now get a sword.
Now the beheading. But since we're talking about the characters, the voice work, I think, needs a mention. How do we feel about that?
I didn't like a lot of the voices in real world. I preferred them in Flashpoint. Like Kevin McKitter's Batman was awesome. Really, really good, actually.
Really awesome.
But really gravelly and nasty.
Yeah, but for some reason I didn't like the voice of Batman in the real world. And
it's interesting you pull that out, because I mean that's Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
That is the people's Batman.
I don't know what it was. It was just a twang to it. I just thought, there wasn't. It just wasn't steeped in.
Just didn't get
I wasn't
in
buying
there
it.
for you.
No,
That's interesting. I mean, for me, the major, and I think it's a problem because he's pretty much the main character, did not like Justin Chambers' performance of Flash.
Oh, right.
I felt a lot of his delivery was stilted or just plain bland.
Yeah.
I
He
did
just
find him
didn't
a little
seem-
bland,
It didn't seem like he was getting it.
No, and for me,
Yes,
you know,
we must do that now.
Yeah.
Seemed to be most of his delivery.
Flash
Don't you
is
know who
quite
I
a-
am?
Yeah. I am
They'll go
the
on for
Flash.
hours.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. Flash he's witty, he's quick, he's funny,
supposed to be,
and
yeah.
he wasn't.
And I mean, we get that a little bit from obviously Nathan Fillion returns to doing Green Lantern.
Yes.
And
It was
he's,
great.
again,
That
the
was-
people's Green Lantern.
Yes, he is very
Everybody
good.
loves him doing that.
Yes.
And you almost want to sort of do the swap seat
Switch.
because there's not that much of GL in this film.
No.
So you're like,
No.
yeah, just get him to do the Flash because he'll have that witty sort of,
Yeah.
banter and that sort of lovable rogue
Yeah,
thing.
there's
going on.
the bubbliness in his voice and,
Yeah.
and his characterization
Yeah.
as well. So
Alright, okay, so wrapping up, guys, I would just finally like to query the choice for adaptation of doing Flashpoint as the thing they're going to adapt. Obviously, there's a lot of great arcs out there. The choice of this one, good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
that was an interesting idea, but I just thought that I didn't know enough about the Flashpoint universe to be able to invest fully in what was happening. It felt like here's the final battle, enjoy, and
now none of it matters.
You don't know why. You're not allowed to know anything.
Everybody forgets everything at the end of this anyway.
Yeah, and so I guess as someone who hasn't read the series and the arc, I don't feel like it's allowed me to enter that world, and enjoy the film as much as it possibly could.
I mean, you can understand why they decided to do this one. This is the jumping off point into the New 52, which is where we're heading now.
Well, yeah, they're doing the first arc of
Justice
League
Yeah.
New 52 as Justice League War is going to be coming out next year.
But I think, for those who have read the Flashpoint universe, there are a lot of stories out there, and there's a lot of other stories that all tie in with this. So for me, I wish that they'd made it into a series rather than just a single movie.
Yeah.
Then we could get a really nice broad range of all the different universes and how this has actually affected the world, and get more of a grounding for those who haven't read the comics.
More on the war that happened
war,
and
yeah.
that sort of thing.
Because it does feel like a little bit of a jip, I've got to say. It is such a big world. There are a whole bunch of spin-offs from the main story from Flashpoint.
And some great stories in them.
And they do borrow from a few of them.
They
There's
do.
a few flashbacks and a few things that they've chosen to change a little bit in the movie to sort of bring those extra bits in. But more than anything, it left me sort of going, well, there's more to know
more to
here.
that.
And now you're just wiping the slate clean on this universe. So yeah, I agree. It would have been nice to have, maybe even like just a few sort of mini movies, to follow off and just examine that world a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have been happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, final word, I was more excited by what this represents
Absolutely.
than what it was.
Yeah.
This shows that we can go darker. It shows that we can look better in these,
Yes.
that it can reach those
We
visual
can really
levels.
get that
Yes.
animation up there and
that
exciting.
It's about time.
It's competing on that visual level, which we've got to have, you've said before,
Yeah.
and I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hoping maybe we can move into some of the darker stuff, maybe even off into some of the Vertigo ones.
Which would be
Let's
amazing.
get off the table and just, try something different.
Awesome.
Well, guys, that's what we thought of Justice League Flashpoint Paradox. It would be great to hear what you guys have to say, so let us know on YouTube, Twitter, and on Facebook.
No, so you've got
Yeah,
it
you've
there,
got it in
and
there,
then whoop, doesn't look like it at all.
No,
You see?
it doesn't,
And you know
does
why?
it?
It's because it doesn't have the old the digital.
Yeah,
style.
but you can probably get an app for it, like a digital
the-
kind
for
of
the calculator.
retro calculator thing.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be
And then
fun.
you whoop.
And then you can do it, yeah.
boobs.
That's all the time we
Oh.
have this week, guys. I hope you've learned something.
And if you have, I hope that you've forgotten a bunch of stuff that you used to know, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah, I've forgotten how to tie my shoelaces.
I don't even know where I live anymore.
Excellent. Don't forget, we will be back next week with more comics, cartoons, and collectibles. And if there's anything you'd like us to take a look at, let us know. Facebook, Twitter, or the YouTube comments.
Fantastic. So until next week, guys.
Bye.